The Scarf of Kunbatar summary of Episode 4, Arseny and Elena's bond deepened through stolen meetings. Hidden from the eyes of Kunbatar, he gave her his most precious possession, his mother's scarf, to touch, and though she returned it, the moments sealed their love as sacred, yet shadows crept in. Elena hinted at her father's plans, at distances growing between their worlds. Arseny clung desperately to the fragments they shared, building his life around each secret encounter. This is the true story of one of our viewers' family members. Episode 5 cracks in the promise. There is a kind of silence that comforts, and there is another that gnaws at the soul. Arseny began to learn the difference the year he turned 17. At first, nothing seemed changed. He still found Elena at the stream, at the ridge, at the edges of the market. She still smiled, still spoke with warmth, still brushed his hand when no one was looking, but beneath it all, something had shifted. It was in the pauses between her words, in the way her eyes sometimes drifted away when he spoke. It was in her laughter lighter than before, as if her mind was elsewhere. Arseny noticed, though he tried to pretend he didn't. He told himself she was tired, that her father's demands had grown heavier, that city people often carried burdens villagers could not see. Yet inside him, unease coiled tighter with each passing day. One evening at the ridge, he asked quietly, "Elena, do you still want to meet me here?" She looked startled, then forced a smile. "Of course I do, Arseny." "Why would you ask?" But the smile did not reach her eyes. He felt it like a stone in his chest. In Kunbatar, there was no space for grand confrontations, no room for lovers to demand proof of devotion. Love lived in glances, in small gestures, in fragile threads. Arseny told himself that to question her would be to break what little they had, so he said nothing more. He buried his doubts in silence, the way his father had taught him to bury pain. Still cracks began to appear. She came late to their meetings, sometimes not at all. When she did arrive, her hair was already in disarray, her breath quick, as if she had run from somewhere else. She offered excuses. Her father had kept her. Her errands had been many. She had been unwell. Arseny nodded, swallowing the unease that clawed inside him. "It is nothing," he whispered into his scarf at night, holding it tightly. "She is here, she is with me, that is enough." But in truth, it was not enough. Each absence hollowed him further. Each excuse felt thinner than the last. He began to feel as though he were grasping at smoke, at something slipping through his fingers, no matter how tightly he clutched. Elena, too, seemed changed. Her words grew lighter, less confessional. Where once she had told him of her dreams, her fears, her childhood, now she spoke only of trivial things, the weather, the market, the small happenings of the day. When Arseny tried to press deeper, she shifted, deflecting with a smile or a sudden distraction. One night, unable to hold back, he asked, "Do you think of me when you are not here?" Her eyes flickered, her lips parted, but no answer came immediately. Finally, she whispered, "Yes, of course." But her hesitation lingered in the air long after she spoke, heavier than the word itself. Arseny went home that night with his chest burning. He paced the small room, his father watching him in silence, his mother's hands folded with worry, but he told them nothing. He spoke only to the scarf, pressing it to his lips, whispering, "If she says yes, it must be true. It must be. I cannot live if it is not." The villagers began to notice, too. Elena was seen speaking with other sons of merchants, men who traveled, men with money. Nothing improper, nothing undeniable, but enough to stir whispers. "The merchant's daughter is not meant for a shepherd's boy," they said. "It was never meant to last." Arseny heard the whispers. They pierced him like knives, but he told himself he did not care. He only cared about her, about the moments they still shared. Yet even those moments carried weight now, a heaviness that pressed down upon him. One evening, as they sat by the stream, Elena stared at the water instead of at him. The light of the moon touched her face, but her eyes were distant. Arseny reached for her hand, but she pulled it back gently, as if without noticing. "What are you thinking?" he asked, his voice breaking. "Nothing," she said quickly, "only the future." He wanted to ask what future she saw, whether he was in it, whether the mountains of Kunbatar had any place in her dreams, but fear sealed his lips. He knew the answer would wound him, and he was not yet ready to bleed. So he sat in silence, watching her, memorizing every detail, as if it might be the last time. At home, Zuleika saw the change in him. She saw how his shoulders sagged, how his eyes no longer shone when he returned from their meetings. One night, as he sat staring into the fire, she placed the scarf over his lap. "My son," she whispered, "love is not only sweetness. It is also trial. Do not lose yourself in it. Remember who you are." But Arseny shook his head. "Who am I without her, mother? Tell me that." Zuleika had no answer, and so the cracks widened. Elena still came, still spoke, still smiled. But each smile was thinner, each word lighter, each moment shorter. Arseny clung to them all the same, clutching at fragments, convincing himself they formed a whole. He told himself that love could not vanish so quickly, that what they had was too real, too strong to be undone by distance or by whispers. He told himself that her silences were nothing, her delays were nothing, her hesitation was nothing. But in his heart, he knew. Love that blooms in shadows carries both sweetness and fragility. And when the cracks begin to show, no amount of silence can hold them close forever. And you, listener, must hold this memory with care. For this is the place where hope begins to bend, where sweetness becomes uncertainty, where love becomes both lifeline and wound. Please wait for the next episode. This journey has only begun.